Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and in today's video, I'm going to be ranking all of the supporters in the Pokemon TCG standard format right now. This format, if you're watching this in the future, which I guess everyone's watching this in the future from when I am recording this, but hopefully, unless you discover time travel. But this is the Battle Styles through Scarlet and Violet format, so it's, I guess, quote unquote, a small format, but it's not that small, right? Let's just hop right into it, and this is obviously, I'm going to try to order the tiers S through F, pretty standard stuff here. So starting with Adamand here, pretty mediocre. Also, it's like you can't really see the supporter, so I'll read them out. Adamand says discard 2 metal. Hopefully I know them all. Discard 2 metal energy from your hand. Yeah, you have to do that to use this effect. It's the same as Crash Awake. You search for 2 cards of anything. So this is a super good effect, but obviously hard to pull off. It's only seen play in the Dialga deck. So it's good in that deck. I think it's very good in that deck. It allows you to do anything, but at the same time, let's be honest, the card is kind of awkward to use. I'll put it in B tier. We'll see if we shift things as we play some more things on, but I think that's fine. Choi, it's draw 3. Each player reveals their hand to their opponent. I suppose this is a little better than Hop. I'll put it at C. Theoretically, the revealing your hand could be very useful, but also revealing your own hand can obviously be kind of bad. The question is, can you make better use out of it than your opponent? I believe that you draw first as well, which is not ideal, because obviously then you're going to reveal to your opponent what. Oh no, you reveal first, sorry, and then draw 3 cards. But it's still like not great. You do get more value out of the revealing than your opponent, but it's still not that good of a card. Now we have Silene. Silene has got to be an A tier. I misclicked. Silene, flip 2 coins for each head to recover any card from your discard pile on top of your deck. This is powerful, of course, because it can recover anything, which is an absolutely insane effect. And this is, I was going to say the only card in the game that can do this. It's not, but it's the best card in the game that can recover anything, I believe. It's not super consistent, which is a big issue, meaning that it's not seeing play in tons of decks. If it was just recover 1 card, put it on top of your deck, or even shuffle into your deck, it would be very good. The lack of consistency means it hasn't seen as much play. Most adjusting control decks, but we've actually seen it see play in VMAX as well to recover various important pieces, including double turbo energy, power tablets, anything you want. So it's certainly a solid card in A tier. It could be better, but it's good. Nina's Vigor, a card that's been a bit of a letdown, but one that's certainly a strong card. You draw 2 cards, then accelerate up to 2 grass energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. Theoretically, it's very strong. Obviously, if you played with Welder, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like Melanie as well, which we'll get to. In fact, I'll talk about Melanie now. But its grass Pokemon aren't very good, and it's kind of awkward to use. Melanie, on the other hand, you need a water energy in your discard pile. You can only accelerate to Pokemon V. You can accelerate to the active, though, which is quite useful. And accelerate it to the active to then draw 3 cards. You draw more cards. If you draw less than 3, it's really hard to justify using a draw supporter unless you're digging more than 3. I suppose seeing more than 3 cards. Or more than 2 cards. You want to be seeing at least 3, probably more, but Melanie only seeing 3. But then you can accelerate relatively consistently because it's from the discard pile. Water type's definitely much better than grass type, as well as it's been. There was a time when it was clearly the best type in format, and now I'd say it's psychic type. I think it's very clearly psychic type now is the best type in format, but water type's still quite solid and will be good going forwards. The that can only accelerate to V is a bit annoying, but still easily an A tier supporter. Used to be S tier, but not anymore. You have Grant. Your fighting Pokemon do 30 more this turn, and you can recover it from the discard into your hand, discarding 2 cards from your hand. It's kind of a weird effect. That being said, it's not a particularly strong card. I'll put it in top of C tier. It has some fun value in a few decks. No, it's better than that. I'll put it bottom of B tier, but it's still kind of an awkward card to use. It sees more play than like Gardenia's, but I'd say it's not as strong of a card. Oh, Irida, easily it's the best card we've seen so far. Search your deck for an item and a water Pokemon. Is it better than Melanie? I'll put it higher than Melanie because it searches for any item and a water Pokemon. It used to be completely busted. Now it's just kind of okay because you search for and items are very good, but searching for water Pokemon doesn't always provide a ton of value without the Inteleon engine. But you do have Radiant Greninja, Manaphy, Pyukumuku, Lumineon, all of which see a lot of play. Pyukumuku doesn't see as much. Oh, I forgot to say with Pyukumuku it has synergy with Silene as well, and that's an important aspect for those control players out there. Pyukumuku Silene is an important combo to understand. But anyway, you can get that with Irida too. Irida's like a very strong card. And definitely one that is potential consideration in honestly any deck, but with the versatility of water Pokemon, especially Lumineon. Kamado, I believe this says... No, Kamado, this is a bit of a weird one. I think you discard until you have one card in hand, and then you draw 4 cards. Yeah, that's kind of awkward, though, because you're discarding so much and drawing 4 is not that good. You don't have to discard cards, but that being said, Kamado's not a great card. I'll put it, honestly, in the bottom of C. I think in terms of draw, it's okay. I might be being a bit too generous with these cards. We'll see. There are some really awful ones coming up, though. I think Kamado has some validity to be played, honestly. Now Roxanne. Roxanne's another A-tier card. Honestly, the best one we've looked at so far. If you can only play this if your opponent's taking 3 prizes, but that's a substantial portion of the game, certainly. Not somewhere around halfway, right? Then each player shuffles their hand to their deck. You draw 6. Your opponent only draws 2. So that's very nice. A very powerful effect. You draw a ton of cards. If you ever play with N, it's like N, like pretty much the best possible N you could get. 1 card away from that. Your opponent still can draw out of it, certainly, and with a lot of solid onboard draw engines in terms of stuff like like the Curly engine with Gardevoir, stuff like Babarill. Revroom's okay, but I think Babarill and Curly are the ones that make Roxanne less valuable. And also various weird prize maps where people can actually completely avoid this 3 prize turn, which is crazy. They can just like play around it. Not too many decks, but decks like Lost Zone, and then certainly decks like Urshifu and Talia can play around it. It means it's not as good as it could be, but it's still one of the best supporters in the game, and is a consideration for every deck. So he's like playing probably half the decks in the game. Zissou, draw until you have 1 more card in your hand than your opponent. Now, right now, people like to have small hands, so yes, pretty underwhelming. It theoretically has some value in some decks, but it's not a particularly strong supporter. Acer roll is Premonition. Your opponent reveals their hand. Draw a card for each train you find there. I'll put it in the middle of B, I think. I'm going to drop Gardenia's down. I feel like I'm giving it too much generosity, but Ace Roll is Premonition. It gives you hand, like the ability to view your opponent's hand, which can be very strong. At the same time, though, it doesn't necessarily draw a ton of cards, right? As I said, people like small hands. It is theoretically good in control decks and is a straight draw card. I don't despise it, and I think it's like a mediocre draw card, but it's not that good. And now we have, I guess, Berry. I'll talk about all the draw 3s and all the draw 4s as well. There are so many of these. It's just kind of absurd. And there's something like this. Pretty much all of them are like draw cards. Not all. Pretty much like half the supporters, I guess, are like draw cards. Draw 4, draw 4, draw 3 with a benefit. Draw 3 with a really good benefit. Draw 3. Let's see what else is like draw 3. I mean, that's like a draw 4, but it's kind of bad. I guess we're talking about it. What else? There are like so many weird cards. In case you didn't know, Pokemon has so many supports. Oh, draw 4. Man, I should have probably saw these before, but you get to see the big mess of the supporter cards. Draw 3. Draw 3. That's like a draw 2. We'll talk about the rest later. So these are all draw 3. They're all clones of Pneumonia. You got Berry, for instance, Sinnoh, for instance, Sui, for instance, Galar. And I think that's it for just straight draw 3s. They're obviously kind of bad. They're all like D tier. There's like worse, but they're all bad. I was worried about the lower end of the tier list, and here go all the cards into it. I'll order them. Nah, it's fine. Berry's like bad. No one likes Berry. No one likes Pneumonia either. I'll go like that. I'll go like that. It doesn't matter really, obviously. They all just draw 3. But then the draw 4s, which are all pretty bad. Doctor, draw 2, but if your opponent's active, is a VMAX, draw 2. I'll talk about Honey as well. VMAX, draw 2 more. No one really plays VMAX anymore, so right now it's just really awful. Don't play this card like ever. It used to be almost viable, but now it's not. Honey is actually dropped. I believe it's a Pokemon feature opponent's benched Pokemon V. But the big issue with this is that there aren't as many Pokemon Vs. Most decks only play like 2, maybe 3. And 1 is highly likely to be in the active. This is honestly, it's better than Doctor, but still F tier. Brandon is really bad, but I've actually seen people talking about playing it. That being said, I think it's an awful card. You can only use this if it's the last card in your hand, then draw for each your opponent's bench Pokemon. This generally isn't drawing a whole ton of cards. I can drop to 5. I'd say average is around like 3, maybe 4. I'd honestly rather play a card like Kamado. I'm going to put this in the D tier above Friends and Galar, essentially with Skwovet and Altaria, but I think there are much better cards. There's another card that you can only play if it's the last card in your hand. For some reason, I thought there was a draw 4. I was getting confused with the Kamado, I suppose. Anyways, Iscan, if you're Iscan, whatever. It does draw 2 plus, I think, 2 more if you're active. Is a Pisuian Pokemon. I mean, it's like something. It's like the most controllable one. Honestly, it's an okay card. But that being said, and I guess if it does Hisuian in its name, there are no technical Hisuian Pokemon. But this is like an okay card. I'll put it top of C tier. I think it's kind of worth playing, but and only very niche decks, which don't really see any play. Now we come to some of the better ones. Schoolboy, which is kind of mediocre. It draws 2, but 4 on your opponent's odd prize turns, which is kind of underwhelming. I'd say it's top of C. Below Iscan and Z, so it's bottom of C. And Schoolgirl does the same thing on the even prize turns, which are the beginning turns. Like the first turn of the game, this is a draw 4. And the second, and before they've taken any prizes, and then if you only have Pokemon V, it's draw for the whole game. Theoretically, this is a very solid supporter. I'm honestly going to put this in the top of B tier. There was a time when it was absolutely insane. Now it's kind of toned down a bit. Schoolgirl is still like certainly a viable card that I think is worth running in some decks, but you need to be very careful with the way you run it, because it can just get almost no value sometimes also. And now we're going to talk about some of the draw 3s with benefits. Are these the only ones? I thought there are more. I'm sure there are. Wallace is a draw 3, a draw 4. Yeah, we don't need to spend all video looking for draw 3 cards. Wallace, though, draw 3. Your opponent can choose to draw a card. If they do, you also draw a card. This is just worse than Hop. This is F. It's bad. Is it worse than Honey? No, it's a little better, I guess, but it's still a pretty awful card. It's worse than the draw 3 card. It's worse than Pneumonia. Worker, draw 3, discard a Stadium card in play. You don't get any choice. This card's like moderately okay. I'll put it at top of B tier. Some people really like this card. I personally don't love it that much, but that being said, it has some value, notably as a bump to Path to the Peak, and also lets you draw cards. It provides a solid value for 1 card. That being said, for a supporter, it doesn't provide that much value. You'd generally rather play just the stronger draw cards that you see higher up in the tier list. Actually, the ones right above it don't even draw more cards, except for Roxanne on certain turns. But there are better draw cards than Worker, definitely. Although some have rotated. Avery, draw 3. Your opponent just goes down to 3 Pokemon. I'll put this somewhere like below Gardenia's Vigor. I think is probably fair. Maybe below Ocerella's Premonition as well. Some people are really big fans of this card. I'm not. Avery's like a okay draw supporter, draw 3. But then the fact that it discards your opponent's bench Pokemon can be very good, obviously, because it can punish decks with big benches. But at the same time, there are lots of decks that have just extra bench Pokemon with, say, like Lumineon V. Tons of decks play just 1 Lumineon. They don't like playing it because it's a liability. Then you play Avery, and then all of a sudden it's gone. They don't have that liability anymore. I'd say it helps you a little more than it hurts you, but it's still not a great card. Some people make the argument that you can always just not play it if it helps your opponent. But then you're not playing your draw supporter, which is really bad. So Avery's like, it's still like a B-tier card, but it's certainly a card worth playing, but it's not a great card. Miriam, in my opinion, has to be an A-tier card. Coming in the middle of the A-tier, draw 3. You need to be able to recover at least 1 Pokemon. It's not as much used for its draw, but it recovers 5 Pokemon into your deck. In my opinion, it's the best way of recovering Pokemon in the game. You can also draw into the Pokemon you recover. It recovers first. It's absolutely insane because of its ability to recover 5 Pokemon. It's definitely, in my opinion, one of the best supporters, one of the best cards from the newest set, Scarlet and Violet, because it's just insane ability to recover Pokemon, especially now that we don't have Ordinary Rod anymore. There are two spores used to recover Pokemon. The other one, I guess I'll talk about it now, being Clara. Clara is also a very good card. I'd say it's actually a bit of a... Now, I'll put it right below Miriam. Some people definitely like this card more. Recover up to 2 Pokemon and 2 energy from your pile into your hand. Obviously, it recovers less Pokemon, but it can recover energy, and they go straight into your hand. It does have more natural synergies, but at the same time, I'd rather play Miriam and Energy Retrieval or Energy Recycler to be able to just have get more stuff back. Claire is definitely just a worse version of Ordinary Rod, pretty much, except for its synergies with card decks where you want lots of energy in hand. It did actually have some very powerful synergy with Glare and Moltres, but no one really plays that anymore because it's not super strong right now. But Miriam is, in my opinion, a slightly better recovery card. You can certainly go either way, and you can even play one of each. That's not too uncommon nowadays either. It just depends on what deck you're running. But Claire is certainly a solid recovery card as well. Now, is this the best? This is an S tier supporter, definitely. Boss Orders, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. It is the gusting card ever since, I guess Lysander was the first version of this. And I guess the only other version of it, people equate Guzma, but they're different. But Boss Orders is very powerful, allowing you to target down any opponent's Pokemon on their side of the board. Also, one of the most important, if not the most important pieces of defensive control style, stall style decks. Because it just can get a Pokemon trapped in the active. Bulbasaur is also essentially the only card that does what it does. There are a few others that we'll talk about. A lot of the times they're very good because this role is not filled by too many cards. And so Bulbasaur is just inherently has a massive advantage as it's a crucial part of any deck, and it's by far the best way to achieve this goal. Next up, we have Cafe Master, a much worse card. Gaslighting itself in the C tier. You choose 3 of your bench Pokemon, accelerate up to 3, or accelerate to each of them a different type of basic energy. I don't really know why you'd play this card. It's not a lot of, it's a lot of energy, but it ends your turn as well. And after you do this, it ends your turn. You're not actually powering up one Pokemon a ton. Essentially, its value is none. So yeah, it's pretty bad. It actually, there's an alchemy from the same set from excuse me, from Brilliant Stars. Sorry, I'm still feeling sick. From Brilliant Stars that allows you to not end your turn with this if it's in the active, but it's awkward to set up. Pretty much the card's just way too awkward to use, unfortunately. It's a weird card. Now we have Sharon's Care. Easily an A tier card. This is the best card. I'll put it below Roxanne, but above the other ones we've seen so far, except for Boss. You scoop up a colorless Pokemon with, I believe, with damage counters in play, into your hand, and it's obviously it's a very solid card because it allows for healing. Is it an absolutely insane card? I mean, it's just quite good. It can definitely win games. It allows certain colorless Pokemon to be absolutely insane. Honestly, it's not seeing as much play as it should right now, but it's still seeing some play, notably with Arceus V-Star, which is debatably the best card in the format right now, or the best Pokemon at the very least, with this insane versatility. Arceus can slot into any, Sharon's Care can slot into any Arceus deck, which can pretty much slot into any other deck. So Sharon's Care becomes super versatile and a great healing card that can be super impressive for some decks to deal with. And Cynthia's Ambition, and I'll talk about Bruno here as well. If one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn, if it wasn't a Bruno, shuffle draw 4, Cynthia's Ambition should draw till you have 5. But if one was KO'd last turn, Bruno is shuffle draw 7, Cynthia's Ambition is draw till you have 8. The single prize deck, you're pretty much getting knocked out every turn. Cynthia's Ambition just draws more cards, and you keep your current hand, so it's an A tier card. And Bruno's going to be a B tier card, topping out the B tier list. B tier here. I think that, honestly, I'll move Cynthia's down 1. They're both pretty insane. There's not really, you could argue which is better. It just depends on the style of deck. But really, they're just insane cards that draw so much for single prizers because they're getting knocked out every turn. Draw till you have 5, shuffle draw 4 are pretty underwhelming effects, but you won't have to settle for that too often. Also, Bruno does have synergy with the single strike package. I believe it's the first battle styles card we've looked at so far. And it's a very strong card. So they're both definitely very powerful. But Bruno's synergy with this single strike package is pretty low. Now Gloria, and I'll talk about some of the other setup cards here. We'll talk about Brawly. I'll talk about Adventures Discovery. Oh, I forgot Bugcatcher. I guess I should talk about that now. Chili Selling Crest. Arizoo is the one I wanted to talk about as well. And I think that's it. No, I guess I'll talk about Lance too. Anyway, so Bugcatcher, I guess I forgot to talk about draw two, flip coin of heads, draw two more. This is like worse than Hopper, but How or Sharon or Tierno or Barry or Pneumonia or French Gala or French Sui or French Sinnoh, because it just is less consistent. But then these searching setup based Pokemon Share setup based cards. We have Gloria. Search your deck for up to 3 non-rule box basic Pokemon. Stick them straight onto your bench. It's an okay setup Pokemon or setup card. I think it has potential to see a play now with Lumineon. A deck like Gardevoir EX could play it. The issue is it's kind of awkward to use. You can't play Spores turn 1, and Lumineon feels a bit bad to play in certain decks, so it's going to end up in the top of C tier. It's still like an okay card, very much usable. I'm going to drop it on Commando. I feel like that's not the same level as these cards. But Gloria is like a very usable card and has some very powerful effects in certain decks, but also it's kind of only usable in one turn of the game. It's kind of silly to use in like turn 2 or turn 3, and even definitely later than that, it's kind of useless because you can't get any on-play abilities. And of course, single-prize Pokemon are generally nowhere near as powerful as multi-prizers. It depends on the exact ones, but it's still a bit awkward to use. You have Brawly, which is the same thing. It can search multi-prizes, but only Rapid Strike. It's a pretty bad card. And put it top of D tier, I suppose, because its effect allowing you to set up your Rapid Strike Pokemon, your Octillery, your Urshifu's, your Inteleons, your Malamars, whatever. But unfortunately, the decks it's played with aren't necessarily super good. And more importantly, they're solid, certainly, but they're just not. They don't like want Brawly. It's just kind of a bad card. And Gloria can often do the same thing. But more importantly, it's just kind of like weird and feels kind of bad. The style of support doesn't feel so good. Oh, and also, as I said, I believe I have made a tier list on supporters before. I might not have uploaded it, I'm not sure. It was quite a while ago if I did. So if you're new to this channel since then, consider subscribing. When I hit 300 subscribers, I plan on making a really interesting video about the Gym Leader Challenge format. I haven't started working. If I hit 300 by the end of the month, I will start working on it then. It will not be out at the end of the month. It will be out some point, hopefully next month. I'm busy, but I should be getting less busy. We'll see. It's going to take a lot of editing, so we'll see how it goes. And obviously, I'm not someone who short speaks and does quick videos. But getting back to the video itself, Arizoo does the same thing as Gloria, except for evolutions. It's a bit better than Gloria. I'd say I'll put it in C, still at the top of C. There's the big issue that most like evolution. No, it's worse than Gloria. It's better. It's usable in more turns of the game. But at the same time, it has less value, I'd say, because most like evolutions, you look at stuff like the EXs, which evolve from single prizers but are rule boxes, so you can't search them out with Arizoo. So it's hard to find decks that want this card, but especially with the Lost of Inteleon. With Inteleon, it was pretty insane, but Lost of Inteleon is pretty hard to find decks that have a lot of use out of this card, but I think it's certainly a card that has some very powerful potential. Now, Chili, Silent, and Caress, allowing you to search for 3 Fusion Strike Pokemon. I don't know what searches for. I guess I'll put it bottom of B tier. I sets up UV Max, one of the best decks in format, but that being said, it isn't usually played in that deck. Lance, search for 3 Dragon Pokemon. I don't think this card's really ever usable. I'll put it bottom of C tier. You can, of course, use it in the Regidraco deck, which wants lots of Dragon Pokemon, but that's it, pretty much. It's a pretty underwhelming card, but has some interesting ideas if Pokemon decides to print more Dragon Pokemon, which they're very on and off about. Definitely print less Dragon Pokemon than other types, so without more Pokemon to choose from, obviously the card doesn't have a lot of power behind it. Next up, we have Adventures Discovery, searching for Pokemon and Vs. This is a solid card, honestly. I'll put in like the middle here of B tier, because obviously it allows you to get up Vs, which are very powerful. There are less Vs, they're coming out less, so unfortunately not as powerful as it used to be. Still a solid card. Now we have Kindler, allowing you to discard a Fire Energy from your hand. I believe you look at the top 7 cards, put any 2 you find there into your hand. With Fire getting better, I'll put it at the bottom of B tier. It'll sneak in there. But is, of course, a bit problematic with Fire not being amazing right now. and it doesn't provide you a ton of value. But it does see 7 cards in the deck. It's an okay supporter, but just not super strong. Now, Manu's Pride. I'll talk about, where are they? Blanc, Candela, and Spark here as well. No, accelerate energy, but Manu's Pride, accelerate 1 energy from your base energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon in play. I'll put it top of C tier. Energy acceleration is always good, but it's not that good. Then you get Spark, Candela, and Blanc, or is it Blanche? Is it Blanche, like the thing you do, like vegetables? I think that's what it is. But anyways, you draw 2, and then you flip a coin if heads accelerate either lightning, fire, or water energy from your hand, or from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Energy acceleration's good, but they're just like Blancs, a bad version of Melanie. They're inconsistent. I'll put them at the top of D tier, below Brawly. And I guess the best one is Blanc, and then Candela, and then Spark. I'm not really sure which is the best. It's kind of hard to decide. And now we have some powerful recovery cards. Roseanne's backup here, an absolutely insane one, allowing you to cover, I believe, a tool, a special energy, a stadium, and a Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck, or any energy, sorry, not just special. This will end up in the top of B tier. I think it's a very worthwhile supporter putting in decks, but at the same time, it's not super powerful. And so it like kind of feels a little bad to use. It's not as powerful as like Miriam or Clara, because it doesn't like get back as much active cards, I'd say, as my active cards, but it gets back stuff from more defensive style control decks. So I think it does very well, but it's not as powerful as Miriam or Clara. Team Yell's Cheer will go right below Silene here, allowing you to recover 3 supporters or Pokemon from your discard pile in combination from your discard pile into your deck. Obviously recovers a solid chunk of stuff. Honestly, this card should probably see a little more play now. I'm going to bump it actually above Melanie and above Cynthia's Ambition. It's mostly as a control card, and actually has a lot of value as a recovery card as well, and it's quite good. Often grouped in with Silene, though of course they have different purposes. Cheryl, an interesting healing card. We also have, in terms of healing, we have Volo. We talked about Sharon's Care earlier, and we have Penny, I guess, is healing. And where is it? I'm looking for Seibold. There we go. Lost him for a second. So we have Cheryl, heal and all your evolution Pokemon, and then discard all energy attached to the Pokemon you healed. This card's still absolutely insane. I'm going to put it at, like, near the top of the A tier with insane value, so disruptive to so many decks, but at the same time it's a bit awkward to use. You need evolutions with cheap energy costs, so it's up to you if you play this card. Volo will go top of B tier, allowing you to discard a Pokemon V from your bench. I think it has to be a basic V as well, but does it? Can it be an evolution? I think it can actually be an evolution, yeah. So you discard a bench Pokemon V, and the cards attached to it, but it allows simple healing and can heal your VMAX and V-Stars, which is kind of nice. Avery, though, is better. Penny. I can't read these, obviously. And I forgot what it was. So Penny, essentially return 1 Pokemon, basic Pokemon all cards attached to it into your hand. This is like very solid because it has great synergy with a few specific basics. It's a bit of a weird card, seeing mostly play and control. It's nowhere near the effect of Scoop Up Net, although it looks like it. It's nowhere near as much value, but it has certain value with various control combos and can be very detrimental to play against. Seibold heals 70 damage from 2 Rapid Strike Pokemon in play. This card is kind of bad because, like, why do you need to heal 70 damage from 2 Rapid Strike Pokemon? It's just so random and not very powerful. Now we're almost done. Let's go. I'm sure you're all thinking the same thing. We have some more draw cards. We'll look at Karina's Focus, the Rapid Strike equivalent of Bruno, I guess, which mostly just sees play in Rapid Strike decks because of Octillion's ability to search it. Drop till you have 6 cards in hand. It's certainly an okay card. I'm going to actually drop these cards because they're bad. Not grand, but I'll drop these. I'll put this above like these. Raise Focus is a solid card because of its searchability with Octillery, and it's not an awful supporter by any means. Drawing between 2 and 5 cards usually, I'd say. which is enough value to make it certainly worthwhile. You'll need to discard cards from your hand. It's a very solid card overall. We've seen similar cards like Bianca and Lily, and so Karina's Focus is just a solid card in that regard. And now we see Phoebe, which says, I believe your Pokemon VMAX hit through effects. It's a pretty bad card right now because, like, let's be honest, who's playing Pokemon VMAX now? It had some value, though. I'll put it, like, at the middle of, like, B tier here. Now I'm just, like, moving down. So I'm looking at the cards. Okay, it goes here. Now, the Muster is absolutely insane cards. You can only play them if they're the last card in your hand. They accelerate either Rapid Strike or Single Strike Pokemon into play. Rapid Strike is from the discard. Single Strike searches your deck and accelerates into play. Very powerful cards, specifically Single Strike with Altaria and Skwovet, in my opinion, easily ending up as an A tier card. Rapid Strike and near the bottom of B tier, I guess, right above Avery here. Very powerful supporter cards. They're not seeing a ton of play. Rapid Single Strike seeing some play, certainly. Notably, Single Strike can be played with Duraludon. It can be played with Lugia. It can be played with, probably not Lugia, but you could. You could play it in, just like Cinderace, you can play Muster decks. Rapid Strike's a bit more awkward to use because it's from the discard pile. But it's still a solid card that I think you can check out if you want to. So yeah, Rapid Strike Muster is like a fun card, but Single Strike's very strong to be honest. Oh, and with Beedrill, it's quite good as well. Now we see Agatha move 3 damage counters from your active to your opponent's active. I forgot about this card. It is a healing card. It's like bad. Like, why do you need to move 3 damage counters? That being said, it actually does have synergy with Gardevoir EX, so it's an okay card. Caitlyn, an interesting draw card. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck, then draw that many cards. People iconically and notoriously say this is a -1 card, whereas you end up with 1 less card than you had in your hand before. You play Caitlyn. That being said, this card has some value. I'll put it at the bottom of B tier. I'll put it, yeah, with decks that get big hand sizes, it has some solid value. Is it good? No, but I think it could actually see playing Gardevoir EX decks. And then Flannery, actually a very strong card here. I'm going to have to put this card in A. I'm going to move some of these down. I'm going to move Seabold down. I'm going to move Lance down, because let's be honest, he plays that Cafe Master, and Phoebe's bad right now too. And Caitlyn and Grant, I'll move those down, and I'll move Flannery down. Allowing you to discard a special energy from play and a stadium. You have to discard the stadium, but getting rid of special energy is very powerful. And I realize I'm going to run out of time here. I only have so much time, unfortunately, to record this. And Karen's Conviction, and I'll do actually all the Battle Styles cards now. It's just those two. Karen's Conviction, boosting the amount of damage your Single Strike Pokemon do. This is an okay card. I'll tack it on like the bottom of the B tier here. Maybe I'll move up to the middle. It can be very strong, but let's be honest, like, who plays this card? It's kind of weird and hard to find when you need it. It does more for each prize they've taken, but it's not that good. Elisa Sparkle, I'll put at the top of B tier. Selling Fusion Strike Energy to your Fusion Strike Pokemon. It's good, but it's kind of niche. And a bit awkward to use and can create problems with the decks that play it as well. Peonia, I'm going to look here. 3 face down prizes. This is easily an A tier card. I'll put it like right here. It's nice and controlled by any deck that plays lots of tech cards as well as V-Union style decks, notably Mewtwo Union decks. Very nice to get the cards. So you have prize. Very important in those decks. So it's really the only card that does this. Peony, moderately strong search card, searching for any 2 trainers, but you need to discard your whole hand. A big downside with a big upside. Is it worth it? Usually not, but sometimes it is. Digging Duo, absolutely garbage draw card. You draw like from the bottom of your deck. But let's be honest, who needs to do that? And just kind of random how much you draw. You like dig? You like dig into the bottom? It's very strange. It's a really bad card though. Raihan, next S tier card. There are a few more, and this is certainly one of them. Allowing you to accelerate energy from your Disco Palace. Search for any card, only if you're knocked out last turn, but this card's broken. This is like debatably the best card in the game as well. I'll put it, it's below boss, I guess. It's still very strong, but, yeah, Ryan, put it in any deck, pretty much. It's absolutely insane. Not every deck, but pretty much any deck. Aroma Lady, really bad. It draws 2. You heal special conditions, but let's be honest, like, why do you need to do that? It's pretty bad. Copycat, draw to the same amount of cards as your opponent. Shuffle draws same amount of cards as your opponent. This is a B tier support. It's a C tier supporter. It's worth playing sometimes. but generally it's not great. Gordy, F. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Put any energy cards you find there into your hand. But like, why do you need 2.5 energies? Like, that's kind of bad as well. Zinnias, this is a B tier supporter. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Draw till you have draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon they have in play. It draws a solid chunk of cards, but at the same time, it's not a ton of value. Cook, heal 70 from your active. This will be top of C. It's okay, but it doesn't provide a ton of value. Damager, absolute hot trash. Yeah, draw 2 if it's your first turn, and you go second and draw 5. But like, come on, that's not that good. And now you have Shauna here. Shuffle, draw 5, and as well as a youngster. These will both be C tier cards. Are they B tier? No, they're C tier cards. They're okay. I'm actually gonna zoom out so we can. No, that didn't work. I wanted to not like double up the rows, but we will. Sydney, a B tier card, letting you disrupt your opponent's hand. Theoretically very strong. Is it strong enough? Probably not in most decks, but it has some validity. I'll put it right around here. Closed Experiment, S tier. This card is insane, letting you to dig a solid chunk into your deck, but also put cards in the loss zone. Enables the best deck in the game. It's the best, one of the best supporters in the game. Fantina, kind of bad now because Vs are seeing less and less play to attack with it. It was a solid component in the loss zone package, but now it's fallen off. Which is damaged by 120. All your Pokemon take from Vs if you have 10 or more cards in the loss zone, but it's still kind of awkward to use. Lady, another C tier card. Search for 4 basic energy. But like, you don't really need this right now. Theoretically, in future sets or in past sets, this could have had value. But right now, it has none. Misfortune Sisters. This card is an okay card. It's a solid B tier card, ending up right around here. Look at the oh no, it's better than that. It'll end up right around here. Now look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck, I believe, and discard any items you find there. It's very strong theoretically, but it depends. Actually, yeah, and then we're going with Riley. It's hot but worst, so it's going in F tier. It's like the worst card in the game. Thornton, absolutely fun card. And so you can use this to like do some funky combos. And so you can use this to recover stuff. You can use this to enable weird stuff. I'd say it's like somewhere in the. I'd say it's probably the top of C tier. Let's be honest. Unfortunately, Candace, you all know the jokes. This is like an F tier card. It's really bad. Searches for water Pokemon and energy, but it's random. It's bad. Furioso Girl, again another bad card. Put it at the bottom of D tier. Sets up your board by getting basic Pokemon out into the active. But let's be honest, why do you need your like basic Pokemon in the active? You're probably attacking their evolution anyway. Gym Trainer, bad version of Cynthia and Bruno. It'll go in the bottom of C tier. Drawing 4 isn't the worst, but it's not the best. Professor Leventa now says that you get to go ahead and cover 2 Hisuian Pokemon. Again, like who's using this? Serena, A tier. Discard and then draw till you have 5. It's okay. And Gus V's pretty okay as well. Not too much to say about that though. I think it's a solid card. We're losing some V's, but still a good card. Also Burnett. Discard 2 cards from your deck. It's a generic B tier card. Since you Lugia, that's about it. And now we get to Arvin, which is search for a tool and an item. It's like a high B tier card. Some people like this. There's not too much to get into. Good with Force Heal Stone, I suppose. And now, oh wow, this is getting too big. Jacques, search for 2 evolutions. Again, another generic B tier card. It has some value. Compared to Arizu, it's better than that because it can get EXs and stuff. Judge, this is honestly an S tier card. Debatably the best draw supporter in the game, along with I'll talk about Research as well. Research is better, but Research will actually, it'll go here. It'll go here. It's very powerful. Research draws the most cards. Judge also disrupts. It's the new Marnie. Not as good as Marnie, but still very good. Katie, shuffle your hand to your deck. Draw 8. Turn ends. C tier. Like it's kind of bad. Team Star Grunt, disrupt your opponent's active by putting energy there on top of their deck. Doesn't remove it. It kind of be good disruption. It's okay. It's not A tier. It's bottom of B. And that's the tier list. I had to rush things, so I have to go. But I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said, subscribe if I get to 300 by the end of the month. I will start working on a really interesting GLC format video, which I'm imagining you will all like. It'll be highly edited, so it'll take some time, but I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video. See ya.